As a PCQI, you are looking at your environmental monitoring program and review your Zone 1. Here we go again. Hello again, PCQIs. Our next topic is environmental monitoring zones. So we're going to be talking about Zone 1, 2, 3, 4. So the title of this blog or this video, it's Environmental Monitoring Zone 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so as a PCQI, you are looking at your environmental monitoring program and review your Zone 1, which here's a little cheat sheet that I have. When I'm doing this, especially when I'm walking around and trying to explain it to our team members in the facility, what Zone 1s are. Everybody says, well, it's a food contact surfaces, which is great, okay? So they understand what Zone 1 is. So examples would be like slicers, mixers, conveyors, utensils, racks, or work tables, okay? So on the work tables, sometimes they say, well, they don't touch the product, but then, your scoops is a Zone 1 because you are using it to scoop the material. And you tend to put it down on that prep table or a stainless steel table, work tables, right? So that becomes a Zone 1. I've mentioned racks. So what I mean by this is not where the tray sits on it, right? In this case, the tray which has the food contact will be Zone 1. Racks is when you're hanging something on it, okay? So it's a little bit of a different definition where let's say you're hanging a piece of meat to cure and things like that. So food contacts, okay? So where the food contacts the surface. So that's one. Now, sometimes in the Zone 1, we overlook the sampling methodology or activity that as a PCQI we perform. Let's say you have a bulk material and you are going to be sampling it to sending it to the lab. Obviously, you're going to be touching that or that utensil / scoop or whatever utensils that you're going to be using to take that product from the bulk materials or collect the product from the bulk materials. That would be also a food contact utensil or device. So consider that one as Zone 1, okay? So the next part of it, Zone 2, so let's go back to that part, is basically these are the things that are adjacent to Zone 1, okay? So you could look at, these are non-food contact surfaces. So some of the things that I've seen for Zone 2 are the exterior of equipment, the framework, the food cart, the equipment housing, okay, gears, ventilation / air handling equipment, like around that area, if you have those. Floors, and walls. So these are all around that food contact surfaces. Sometimes people, well, that's a Zone 3. So we'll go over what Zone 3 looks like for that. Now, Zone 2 also, where the product is exposed, like a pathway to a pathway that the product could be contaminated. So this type of potential threat, let's look at that, that could exist, okay? So also look at Zone 2 through the action of your personnel or a machine. So some of our PCQI, they ask, well, I have this, it's further away, it's a corner of the room. Would that be considered Zone 2? Yes, right? You could consider that. The reason why is if you have foot traffic, forklift, pallet jack traffic, or any movement through that area, you can consider that as a Zone 2 because the product is being exposed or the food is exposed or being conveyed or being held, okay? So for example, let's say you have a tub of raw materials and you sat it on the table and you have the wall right there within 3 feet of it, so that would be Zone 2. So hopefully you get some clarification on that. And if you have any other questions, hit me up at info@consultairinc.com, okay? So now let's jump on to Zone 3. Now, Zone 3 is what surrounds Zone 2, okay? And basically, the assessment on this one, if if it can contaminate the product by a pathogen, in this part of it, it could lead to Zone 2. So basically, it's a jumping point. So if it's in Zone 3, it's gonna go to Zone 2 and eventually will work its way to Zone 1. Okay, so pathogens, that you're gonna be identifying through your EMP. They lead in 2 directions, right? One, either they go to the drain or they go to the product, right? So we are making an assumption as a PCQI, obviously as part of our analysis, is ending up in our product. So zone 3, via the actions of personnel or movement of machinery, right? This include hallways. Okay, so if you have a hallway, then you have a PPE room, that would be a zone 3. Okay, crossing over to your production area, so that could be a zone 3. Doorways leading into the food production areas, your large production room. Let's say you have a huge production room, and you have all of these other entrance and doorways, going into that one particular area, which is you consider zone 2. Now you are in the zone 3. Okay. And says areas also further away from handling equipment that are typically zone 2 areas, right? So you kind of, well, isn't that zone 2 or zone 3? So you have let's say equipment that are stored outside your zone 2 at this point, and they're just kind of, they got pulled off because they're not part of that process. So where you store them, that is zone 3. So because if you have listeria, you could jump off on that. Well, you may, I mentioned listeria, as a particular pathogen or any contaminants. You might be saying, well, Arnel, we're going to take that equipment and we're going to clean it and wash it and calibrate it, bring it back in. Now remember, this is environmental monitoring program, so you're going to consider that on your swabbing as a zone 3. Okay. Now, zone 4, we sell the zone 4 being swab as well, part of a EMP. But once you have contamination, let's use listeria for example, participated on deep dive audit where they clean 1, 2, 3, sanitize it, search and destroy zone 1, 2, 3, and then they fail or overlook zone 4. There's an incident in one plant which I can't mention, which they end up shutting down, and they couldn't control in this event listeria. That when we got called in to participate with the agency contractors, we found it in zone 4. So what was happening was zone 1, 2, and 3, they're doing all of these search and destroy. And then you have the human movement, the personnel. It was on light switches. It was in the QA room. It was in the production room. It was on the phone. It was on the keyboard. So those are the type of things that we found. Sometimes when you have this certain situation, do not overlook zone 4. Okay. So on zone 4, I mentioned QA offices, administrative offices, production offices. We're also looking at these are adjacent to food production rooms. As you can see, or just imagine your own facility. You have all of these rooms right outside these little zones. Not just a hallway where you're doing your hand washing and your PPE station, and then you have offices or mini cubicles around it and all that. So you consider those as zone 4. So let me see here. Dry goods storage warehouses, right? Your warehouse, your finished product warehouse or storage area. There's break rooms, okay? Hallways, loading docks, okay? These are your zone 4. Okay, so if you keep getting these cross-contamination, don't disregard the zone 4. You could be doing sanitation might be doing a great job, right? But then they're bringing it in through production personnel, through the QA. It's just that environment of it. Through maintenance. Okay, maintenance sometimes is adjacent to the production area. It could be on the tools that they are going to be touching, and it could be on their toolboxes that they're rolling in and out. Okay, on those zones. So you're going to consider those areas as zone 4. Now I touch base on the toolbox. Okay, so on the toolbox, once you roll it into the production area, where adjacent to the equipment, right? I know you're going to sanitize it. You're going to give me all of those things that it works. I get it. As a PCQI, I have to trust and verify through what? Swabbing. Okay, that's the only way to do it. Here's another prime example with an FDA auditor where he frowned upon using towels that are being utilized, right, by sanitation, maintenance, and some production folks, that they sent that towel to the lab. Crazy what they found, right? So guess what we've done? We banned towels, right? Cotton towels, whatever you're using, shop rags, right? We went to what? Consumable paper towels, industrial paper products that you can use in one time and dispose of. So we can go to another different topics when it comes to that, okay? So as a PCQI, hopefully this zone 1, 2, 3, and 4, you might have a different version of this, but this is just my own interpretation based on materials I've read through agencies and state guidelines, and as well as witnessing best practices and having all of these perform and observe on site. Okay, so hopefully that helped PCQIs. And if you need anything, inputs, guides, please reach out. info@consultairinc.com. That goes directly to me. If you need services, go to services@interlinkiq.com, as well as services@consultairinc.com. All right. Thanks everybody, and PCQI. Have a great day and stay strong. Contact us. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Thanks again, PCQIs. Have a good one.